After 2 days of bullish momentum, the Pakistan Stock Exchange faced a major pullback as investors began profit-taking. The KSE 100 index slipped by 794 points, closing at 166,553. Heavyweights like Fauji Fertilizer, MCB Bank, and Habib Bank dragged the index down, while limited gains from PSX and SNGP softened the fall. Market activity also slowed, with trading volume dropping by nearly 14%. Experts believe the index will now move within a narrow range as investors wait for the upcoming monetary policy meeting on October 27th. Meanwhile, gold prices in Pakistan continued to dance to the tune of international trends. Local Sarafa markets reported fresh fluctuations, reflecting the global uncertainty that keeps investors on edge. As the dollar moves, gold moves, and Pakistan's jewelry market adjusts accordingly. And in the auto world, China's Chery has made a bold move with the new Tiggo 9. This 7-seater flagship SUV comes loaded with luxury power and performance, all for just £43,000. Powered by a 428 horsepower plug-in hybrid system, the Tiggo 9 can go from 0 to 62 miles per hour in 5.4 seconds. That is faster than many high-end European SUVs. The company is calling it the most value-packed SUV in its class, with all features included from adaptive cruise control to massaging seats. With deliveries set for December, this model could shake up the global SUV market. If you love staying updated with powerful stories like these, then don't forget to like this video, subscribe to FactZone, and hit the bell icon so you never miss the truth behind the headlines. From market moves to tech breakthroughs and global trends, I am Muskan Barber, and this is FactZone, where every fact matters. Until next time, stay informed, stay curious, and stay with FactZone. Have you ever wondered how many dreams were lost in the shadows of history? How many brilliant minds changed the world, yet their names disappeared into silence? Science has always been a battlefield of discovery, where truth fights against time, tradition, and pride. But behind the loud voices of fame stand the quiet ones, the women whose genius rewrote the laws of nature yet never received the light they deserved. Tonight we will travel through centuries. We will step into the forgotten laboratories of brilliance. We will listen to the whispers of minds that refused to stop thinking even when the world refused to listen. This is not just a story of science, it is a story of courage and forgotten glory. Because for every name we remember, there are 10 we never learned. These are the women who worked by candlelight, while others received medals under chandeliers. They discovered atoms and stars, they decoded life itself, yet history turned away. They were told you cannot, you must not, you should not. But they said I will. And so begins our journey into time, through dust and data, through silence and truth. To meet the souls who dared to think differently. The forgotten women of science. Hey everyone. I'm Muskan Barber, and you're watching FactZone, the channel where we explore the untold stories, lost legends, and hidden truths behind our world's greatest achievements. If you love discovering real stories that changed history, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and join the journey of knowledge and inspiration. Hypatia of Alexandria. In the ancient city of Alexandria, when the world was ruled by empires and gods, there lived a woman whose mind shone brighter than any temple flame. Her name was Hypatia. Born in the 4th century, she was the daughter of Theon, a philosopher and mathematician. From childhood she walked through marble halls filled with scrolls and equations. While men argued about faith, she searched for knowledge. She taught astronomy, mathematics, and philosophy to students from all over the known world. They called her the philosopher of light. At a time when women were expected to stay silent, she stood before great audiences and spoke of numbers, stars, and reason. Her voice was calm, her logic sharp as a blade. She taught that truth is not owned by religion or rulers, but discovered by those who dare to question. But Alexandria was changing. Fear was rising. The age of reason was giving way to the age of faith, and those who thought differently were branded as enemies. Hypatia refused to stop teaching. She continued to study the heavens to chart the movements of planets, and to guide her students in pursuit of wisdom. But mobs filled the streets hungry for power and blinded by hate. They accused her of sorcery and blasphemy. One morning, as she rode through the city, her chariot was stopped. The crowd dragged her into a church, and ended her life with brutality. Her body was destroyed, but her ideas could not be burned. Centuries later, her name still echoes through the halls of learning. Hypatia became the first known female mathematician, philosopher, and astronomer in recorded history. She paid the price for thinking freely. She became a symbol of what it costs to be wise in a world afraid of wisdom. Ada Lovelace. In a world where she studied mathematics under brilliant tutors, and soon met Charles Babbage, the inventor of a mechanical device called the analytical engine. Most people saw it as a strange metal machine, but Ada saw something different. She saw a mind inside the machine. As she studied its workings, she wrote detailed notes explaining that this device could not only calculate numbers, but also compose music, draw pictures, and think in patterns. She had glimpsed the future of computers. Her writings became the first algorithm ever created for a machine. The world would later call her the first computer programmer. But society did not believe that a woman could think beyond arithmetic. They dismissed her as a dreamer and ignored her notes for over a century. It was only in the 20th century, when computers came alive, that her genius was finally understood. Ada Lovelace had imagined artificial intelligence before electricity powered homes. She saw what the world would become long before it arrived. She taught us that imagination and reason together can change the world, and that the mind has no gender, only vision. Marie Curie. In a small laboratory filled with the scent of chemicals and candle smoke stood a woman whose hands glowed with light and pain. Her name was Marie Curie. To make her remember. Many scientists whispered that she was only successful because of her husband. Yet after Pierre's tragic death, Marie continued alone, raising her children and leading her research. She built mobile X-ray units that saved thousands of soldiers during the war. Her brilliance shone even as her health faded. She once said, "Nothing in life is to be feared, it is only to be understood." Her sacrifice became a light for generations of scientists who came after her. She showed that true discovery demands not only intelligence, but endurance of spirit. Lise Meitner. In the early 1900s, deep in a lab in Berlin, another woman stood surrounded by equations and silence. Her name was Lise Meitner. She was an Austrian physicist whose mind was sharp enough to split the atom, yet the world never gave her credit. Alongside her colleague Otto Hahn, she studied the mystery of how uranium behaved under neutron bombardment. Their experiments led to one of the greatest discoveries of all time: nuclear fission. It was the key that opened the door to atomic energy, and also to the atomic bomb. But before she could publish her findings, the world changed. War erupted. Lise was Jewish and Germany was no longer safe. She fled across the border in secret, carrying only her papers and her mind. From exile, she continued her work, writing letters to Hahn explaining the theory that would earn him the Nobel Prize. Her name was never mentioned. The world celebrated him and forgot her. But Lise never claimed fame. She refused to build weapons or seek revenge. She called the bomb a tragic misuse of science. She believed that knowledge must serve life, not destroy it. Years later, scientists would call her the mother of nuclear fission. Yet she lived and died with quiet dignity, knowing that truth outlives recognition. Her story reminds us that sometimes the greatest discoveries are written not in glory, but in exile. Chien Shirang Wu. Woman who proved the world could tilt. In the heart of a world at war, a young girl from a quiet town in China dreamed not of fame, but of truth. Her name was Chien Shirang Wu. From the time she was a child, she looked at the sky and asked questions no one around her could answer. Why do things fall? Why does light move? What happens inside the smallest piece of matter? She left her home for America carrying nothing but a suitcase and the courage to dream. In a land where women were often told to assist rather than lead, she walked into the laboratories of Columbia University. Her eyes burned with purpose, her voice was calm, but filled with certainty. She did not seek attention, she sought precision, truth, understanding. When the world was at war, she helped the Manhattan Project refine nuclear processes. Her work silent, her name unspoken. She did it because knowledge mattered more than applause. But her greatest test came later. Two scientists, Li and Yang, brought her an idea. They believed that one of the sacred laws of physics, parity, the idea that nature treats left and right as identical, might not be true. The world laughed at their theory. Wu did not laugh. She said, "Let us test it." She spent long nights in the cold chambers of the lab with cobalt atoms and magnetic fields. Her breath turned to mist, her hands trembled, but her focus never broke. And when the results came, the universe shifted. She proved that nature could choose sides. The mirror of reality had a flaw. The law of parity was broken. It was her discovery, her precision, her courage that changed physics forever. Yet when the Nobel Prize was awarded, her name was missing. The men who proposed the idea received it. The woman who proved it did not. But she smiled, that quiet, knowing smile of those who live for truth, not trophies. She once said, "I do not really understand why women are expected to be behind men. After all, the universe does not discriminate. Ask Catherine. If she says it is right, then we trust it." Her calculations guided John Glenn into orbit. And when Apollo 11 prepared to reach the moon, it was her math that drew the path through the void. Her hands shaped the road between the earth and the stars. She worked in silence, no spotlight, no applause. But inside that silence, she changed the course of human history. She showed the world that genius has no gender and no color. Imagine her standing by the chalkboard surrounded by white dust, writing equations that touched infinity. Her eyes glowing with certainty, her heart steady as gravity itself. The men who flew became heroes. But it was her invisible numbers that kept them safe. She once said, We will always have STEM. Some things will drop out of the public eye and go away. But science, engineering, and technology will always be here. She was right. Her work did not end when the rocket stopped. It lives in every launch, every orbit, every dream of reaching further. Katherine Johnson, the woman who took humanity to the moon without leaving the ground. Hedy Lamarr, in the glittering age of Hollywood where lights blinded truth, there was a woman who shone not only for her beauty but for her mind. Her name was Hedy Lamarr. People saw her on screens, but few knew that behind that smile was a mind filled with invention. At night while others dance, when the stock market tumbles, gold prices shift, and a powerful new SUV storms the global stage, the question is simple: who is winning and who is losing? Still, we break down the numbers, the impact, and the buzz that has everyone talking. I am Muskan Barber, and you are watching FactZone, your trusted destination for the biggest stories from business, finance, and technology, where facts meet clarity and analysis meets insight. After 2 days of bullish momentum, the Pakistan Stock Exchange faced a major pullback as investors began profit taking. The KSE 100 index slipped by 794 points, closing at 166,553. Heavyweights like Fauji Fertilizer, MCB Bank, and Habib Bank dragged the index down, while limited gains from PSX and SNGP softened the fall. Market activity also slowed, with trading volume dropping by nearly 14%. Experts believe the index will now move within a narrow range as investors wait for the upcoming monetary policy meeting on October 27th. Meanwhile, gold prices in Pakistan continued to dance to the tune of international trends. Local Sarafa markets reported fresh fluctuations, reflecting the global uncertainty that keeps investors on edge as the dollar moves. Gold moves and Pakistan's jewelry market adjusts accordingly. And in the auto world, China's Chery has made a bold move with the new Tiggo 9. This 7-seater flagship SUV comes loaded with luxury power and performance, all for just £43,000, powered by a 428 horsepower plug-in hybrid system. The Tiggo 9 can go from 0 to 62 miles per hour in 5.4 seconds. That is faster than many high-end European SUVs. The company is calling it the most value-packed SUV in its class, with all features included from adaptive cruise control to massaging seats. With deliveries set for December, this model could shake up the global SUV market. If you love staying updated with powerful stories like these, then don't forget to like this video, subscribe to FactZone, and hit the bell icon so you never miss the truth behind the headlines. From market moves to tech breakthroughs and global trends, I am Muskan Barber, and this is FactZone, where every fact matters. Until next time, stay informed, stay curious, and stay with FactZone. What happens when a small Bollywood romance takes on a big horror comedy? The answer: the underdog wins big. In just 2 days, Ek Diwani Ki Diwaniat, starring Harshvardhan Rain and Sonam Bojwa, has collected an impressive 16.50 crore across India. The film opened strong on day one, with over 9 crore, and dropped only slightly on the second day, showing strong audience support despite facing competition from the horror comedy Tamar. This emotional love story managed to hold its ground and win hearts. Directed by Milap Zaveri, the film gained attention for its unique promotional style, where Harshvardhan personally sold tickets and put up posters on Mumbai streets. With such passion and dedication, the film is now being called a surprise success story of the year. All eyes are on its weekend performance, as fans continued to shower love on this unexpected hit. What if I told you Earth now has 2 moons, and one of them has been secretly traveling with us for over 60 years? From FactZone, I'm Muskan Barber, and here's the cosmic story that's blowing everyone's mind. NASA has officially confirmed the discovery of a quasi-moon named 2025 PN7, a small asteroid that's been orbiting the Sun in perfect sync with Earth since the 1960s. Discovered by the University of Hawaii earlier this year, this tiny space companion, just 18 to 36 meters wide, isn't a true moon. Instead, it's like a cosmic jogging buddy, keeping pace with us. looping around the sun almost shoulder to shoulder. Unlike our moon, which is bound tightly by gravity, this asteroid simply shadows our orbit, never touching, but never drifting far away either. At its closest, it comes within 4 million kilometers, and at its farthest, it stretches out to 17 million. Scientists say it'll continue to accompany us until the year 2083, before finally drifting back into deep space. So far, only 8 quasi-moons like this have ever been confirmed, each offering valuable clues about how asteroids move and how Earth's gravity shapes nearby space. For scientists, these rare companions could become testing grounds for future space missions close, stable, and reachable without venturing too far from home. No, it'll never replace our real moon, but it's a fascinating reminder that space still holds secrets, quietly orbiting alongside us. Imagine a single naval ship stopping a billion-dollar drug empire in its tracks right in the middle of the Arabian Sea. Pakistan's Navy has pulled off one of the biggest drug busts in maritime history. During Operation Al-Masmak, Pakistan Navy ship PNS Yamuk, working with the Saudi-led Combined Task Force 150, intercepted 2 suspicious boats within just 48 hours. The results were staggering: over 2 tons of crystal meth worth $822 million, followed by another $150 million in meth and cocaine seized from a second vessel. Both boats were found with no nationality, and the seized drugs were safely tested and destroyed. Officials hailed it as one of the most successful operations ever for the International Maritime Force. Pakistan's Navy called it proof of their unwavering commitment to regional peace, global security, and the fight against illicit trafficking. FactZone. Hi everybody, welcome back to FactZone. I'm Muskan Barber. Today we're diving into a story that affects more families than you might realize: what happens when property becomes a battleground. What if the very house you grew up in becomes the cause of conflict, not comfort? That's what we're exploring. Stay with me, because by the end you'll understand how a simple decision about a house can tear family trust apart, and what you can do to avoid it. Imagine this: a family home built or inherited over decades, full of memories, laughter, and shared life. Then one day one owner decides to sell it. Suddenly, without telling anyone else. The children walk in one morning and see a sold sign. The parent says, "It's my property, I can do what I want." But for the children it feels like a betrayal. The home isn't just bricks and mortar, it's identity, legacy, security. And when that gets sold, the fallout is deep. In this video we'll examine a real-life style situation, look at the legal and emotional implications, and give you 5 key lessons you can apply in your own family. Let's get started. Meet the Harris family. Father Michael, Mother Linda, 2 adult children, Sarah and David. For 25 years, they lived together in the same house, a house passed down from Michael's father. Christmases, birthdays, childhood memories galore. Michael built and maintained the home. He expected his children to carry on the legacy. Sarah moved to another city. David stayed local and helped with small repairs, gardens, that kind of thing. Over time, Michael began to feel burdened by the upkeep. Linda worried about costs. They quietly began to talk about selling. But crucially, they didn't involve the children in the decision. Sarah assumed, if anything happens, Dad will talk to us. David assumed the same. Neither expected a surprise. Meanwhile, Michael met an estate agent, signed a contract, and told no one. Then the sale went public. The children discovered it via social media, and the sold board outside. Cue the explosion. When Sarah returned home, she was shocked. "Why didn't you tell us?" she demanded. Michael's answer: "It's my property. I got a good offer. I worked hard. This is for the future." David was furious. "This was our home. You promised we'd have a say." Linda tried to mediate. Trust broke. For Sarah and David, the home wasn't just property, it was a symbol of family, of belonging. When it was sold without consultation, it felt like the foundation beneath them was pulled away. Then the legal side, the house was owned solely by Michael. No formal trust. No written arrangement. The children realized they couldn't legally stop the sale. Their personal belongings were still inside. Their emotional investment ignored. Financially, the sale proceeds went into Michael's account. Sarah had expected maybe inheritance, or say in where the money went. David had invested years of labor. What about him? Emotionally, Sarah withdrew. David became distant. Michael felt attacked. He says he did it for their benefit for his retirement, to buy a summer home abroad. But the damage was done. The sale completes. New owners move in. Sarah and David feel the house is now outsiders. Family gatherings stop. Holidays cancelled. Sarah feels rootless. The place she always came home to is gone. David sells his workshop tools. He feels his future has been undercut. Legally, because there was no shared title, no agreement, little the children could do unless they could prove unjust enrichment or proprietary estoppel. Those cases are complicated and costly. And here's the key takeaway. Property isn't just asset. It's legacy. Permission. Communication. When you treat it purely as my asset, without the relational context, you risk fracture. So what can you do if you're in a situation like this, or want to avoid it entirely? Here are 5 actionable lessons. 1. Communicate early and openly. Don't assume everyone knows your plans. Share the thoughts, concerns, potential decisions before the contract is signed. 2. Involve all stakeholders. If children, siblings, parents contribute time, labor, money, hope, make sure they're part of the discussion. 3. Formalize expectations. Verbal promises often don't hold in legal sense. Consider trusts, shared titles, documented agreements. 4. Acknowledge the non-monetary value. Legacy, memories, identity, these matter. Even if the number on the sale is good, the relational cost might outweigh it. 5. Use mediation early if conflict emerges rather than litigation, which often kills relationships. Mediation gives everyone a voice and seeks repair. If you apply these, you reduce the risk of house becomes battlefield scenario. Thanks for watching this episode of FactZone. If you found it helpful, please hit the like button, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe for more stories that look beneath the surface of everyday situations. Got a story of your own about family and property? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to read it and maybe cover it in a future video. Until next time, I'm Muskan Barber, and this was FactZone. Take care, and keep your family conversations strong. The ripple effects of the U.S. retreat from international reproductive care. I am Muskan Barber, and you are watching FactZone. Today we're talking about a major global health crisis that isn't making enough headlines. Asterisk the dangerous impact of U.S. funding cuts on international reproductive care and women's health around the world. For decades, the United States has been the largest donor to global health programs, supporting clinics, medicines, and disease prevention projects in developing countries. But since the Trump administration, that support has been rapidly shrinking. And the result? A silent wave of suffering, especially for women, children, and healthcare workers. In 2019, women's rights activists stood in front of the White House demanding an end to what's called the global gag rule. a policy that restricted funding for international organizations involved in reproductive health and family planning. Human rights experts like Jamie M. Der, Pyle Shah, and Florian Borrell explain that these U.S. aid cuts have devastated healthcare systems across countries such as Congo, Kenya, Ethiopia, Uganda, and Tanzania. Pregnant women are losing access to safe delivery services, children are dying from preventable diseases like malaria, and medical workers are left unpaid for months. The administration claimed it was fighting waste and fraud. But in reality, these cuts have been wasteful, fraudulent, and abusive. They are reversing decades of progress in global health. Imagine being a mother who can't protect her baby from HIV. Or a doctor without medicine for your patients. That's the human cost of these policies. But experts also say it's not too late. The infrastructure that took decades to build can still be saved. Clinics still stand, health workers are still trained. And if the funding returns, thousands of lives can still be protected. The message is clear. Global health is not just a political issue, it's a matter of humanity. Restoring international healthcare funding could mean the difference between life and death for millions. I'm Muskan Barber, and you're watching FactZone. If you found this video informative, make sure to like, share. I am Muskan Barber, and you are watching FactZone. Today we talk about the biggest internet crash of the year caused by Amazon Web Services, also known as AWS. Millions of users across the world were affected as major apps and websites went down. AWS is the backbone of the internet, providing storage and computing for 1/3 of online services. From Snapchat and Reddit to banks like Lloyd's and games like Fortnite, everything was hit. The cause was a DNS failure which acts like a map for internet traffic. Today AWS lost that map and could not connect users to apps even though they were still online. Experts say such issues happen due to server errors or human mistakes. The problem began at AWS's main data center in North Virginia. This outage shows how risky it is when most of the world relies on one service. There are other cloud providers like Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud, but AWS still dominates. Today's crash reminds us how fragile our digital world is when controlled by a few big players. I am Muskan Barber, and you are watching FactZone. Stay tuned for real updates and tech insights. I am Muskan Barber, and this is FactZone. Breaking news from Islamabad High Court. As the court has removed all objections raised by the registrar on Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Chief Minister Sohail Afridi's plea seeking permission to meet PTI founder Imran Khan, who remains in Adiala jail since September 2023. The court has now issued notices to the Adiala jail superintendent, the Punjab Home Department Secretary, the Interior Secretary, and the Punjab Inspector General of Prisons for October 23rd. Chief Minister Sohail Afridi filed this plea after being denied a meeting with Imran Khan, despite submitting formal requests to the Federal Interior Ministry and Punjab Home Department earlier. Afridi took oath as Chief Minister on October 15th and filed the plea 2 days later, saying he wanted to consult Imran Khan before announcing his provincial cabinet. His lawyer argued that the registrar's objection had no legal standing because the cabinet has not yet been formed. The plea further stated that consultation with Imran Khan is both legally and ethically necessary for key administrative and political decisions, including cabinet formation. Stay tuned with FactZone for more updates on this developing story from the Islamabad High Court. I am Muskan Barber. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to wake up far away from the place you once called home, to open your eyes in a world that speaks a different language, to walk in streets that don't know your name? Today, we will travel through the day of an ordinary girl living in the United States, chasing dreams that often seem too far, yet she keeps walking, because hope is her only luggage. Her name is Aisha, and her story begins before the sun even rises. She is one of millions who carry the weight of two worlds on their shoulders, the land they left behind and the land they are still learning to belong to. This is not just her day, this is the heartbeat of every immigrant who dares to dream in a foreign land. The alarm rings at 5:30. The air is still cold and silent. Aisha opens her tired eyes and looks at the small window where the city lights fade into the early dawn. She whispers to herself, another day, another chance. She makes a cup of coffee in the small kitchen, her roommate still asleep. She stands quietly watching the steam rise. The smell reminds her of home. Her mother used to make chai at this hour. She looks at a picture on the fridge, her parents smiling, her little brother waving. The memory stings, but she smiles anyway. She ties her hair and packs her bag. She places a note inside that reads, "You are stronger than you think." Because in this country, strength is not a choice, it is survival. Outside, the world has already begun to move. Buses roar, the metro doors open, and close, voices mix. In the air she walks fast, holding her coffee and her dream together in one hand. The subway is crowded yet lonely. Faces glow under fluorescent lights, some tired, some hopeful, some lost. She finds a seat and looks outside at the tunnels rushing by. This is not just a train, it is a moving dream carrying hundreds of stories no one ever tells. A man beside her asks her, "You from Pakistan?" She nods yes. He smiles and says, "I love your accent." She thanks him politely, her heart both proud and unsure. She wonders why something as natural as her accent feels like both a gift and a weight. She reaches her stop, takes a deep breath, and walks toward the cafe where she works part-time. The cafe smells of roasted beans and warm bread. Soft jazz plays in the background. The sound of laughter mixes with the hiss of milk steam as Aisha ties her apron and begins her shift. "One caramel latte, extra hot," the customer says. She nods with a gentle smile. The rhythm of the morning rush begins. Each drink she makes feels like a tiny act of endurance. She wipes the counter, wipes her thoughts away, and keeps moving. A customer leaves a $2 tip. She places it carefully in the jar, whispering, $2 closer to my tuition fee." The job is not her dream, but it keeps her dreams alive. Her manager nods approvingly. "Good work, Aisha." She smiles back, a smile that hides the tiredness of someone balancing two worlds. When the shift ends, she rushes to the university, her backpack heavy, her heart heavier. The lecture hall smells of coffee, notebooks, and ambition. Her professor speaks about algorithms. Her mind travels between logic and life, between what she learns and what she lives. She raises her hand and gives an answer. The professor smiles. "Excellent point, Aisha." Her classmates nod, some curious, some impressed. She feels a tiny spark of belonging. This moment is hers, and she earned it through endless nights of study, part-time jobs, and whispered prayer. As the class ends, she looks out the window at the tall buildings and remembers her last day in Pakistan, her mother holding her hand, her father saying, "Go and learn everything you can, make us proud." She wipes a tear quickly, because strength is not about never crying, it is about never giving up. The sun begins to sink into the horizon, painting the sky in gold and purple. Aisha takes her delivery bag and rides her bike through the streets, the air cold, the city glowing like a giant dream made of glass. She delivers food to strangers who smile and say thank you. Her hands ache, her legs burn, but she keeps pedaling. Every delivery is a step closer to independence. She looks at the skyscrapers rising above her and whispers, "So many lights, yet some of us still feel unseen." She passes through Central Park. The laughter of people fills the air, families, friends, couples enjoying their evening. She rides silently among them, part of the crowd yet apart from it. She reaches home close to midnight. She enters her small room, removes her shoes, and sits near the window. Her phone buzzes. Ami calling. She answers quickly. "Assalamu alaikum, Ami, how are you?" Her mother's voice warm and gentle. "Beta, we are fine. Did you eat?" She laughs softly. "Yes, Ami, I even made Dale today." They talk about home, about neighbors, about her brother's school. The call lasts 10 minutes, but fills her heart for hours after it ends. She stares at the city lights, blinking like stars fallen to the earth. She feels both far and connected at the same time. She opens her laptop, studies for an hour, then scrolls through old photos of family weddings and festivals. Her eyes grow heavy. She whispers a small prayer. "Ya Allah, make tomorrow easier." She lies down, the hum of the heater, the sound of her breath, the whisper of dreams, all melt into sleep. This is the life of one immigrant. But behind every face there are millions of stories. They are the hands that build cities, the hearts that keep dreams alive, the souls that remind us what courage looks like when no one is watching. They leave their homes not because they want to escape, but because they want to grow. They miss their families, their language, their food, yet they adapt, they learn, they rise in silence. Every accent tells a story, every struggle hides a victory, every tear becomes a bridge between worlds. When you meet someone who speaks differently, walks differently, or prays differently, remember they too are fighting battles unseen. The world becomes brighter when we see each other not as foreigners, but as fellow dreamers. This is for every Aisha, for every heart that left home to build a new one abroad. So next time you sip your coffee or pass by someone working quietly in a cafe, remember that behind that gentle smile lies a story of strength and hope and endless faith. Because living abroad is not just about chasing success, it is about carrying love across oceans and finding yourself somewhere between two skies. This is the day of an immigrant, and though the world may forget her name, the dream she carries will always shine. FactZone by Muskan Barber. Have you ever wondered how many dreams were lost in the shadows of history? How many brilliant minds changed the world, yet their names disappeared into silence? Science has always been a battlefield of discovery where truth fights against time, tradition, and pride. But behind the loud voices of fame stand the quiet ones, the women whose genius rewrote the laws of nature yet never received the light they deserved. Tonight we will travel through centuries. We will step into the forgotten laboratories of brilliance. We will listen to the whispers of minds that refused to stop thinking even when the world refused to listen. This is not just a story of science, it is a story of courage and forgotten glory. Because for every name we remember, there are 10 we never learned. These are the women who worked by candlelight, while others received medals under chandeliers. They discovered atoms and stars, they decoded life itself, yet history turned away. They were told you cannot, you must not, you should not. But they said I will. And so begins our journey into time, through dust and data, through silence and truth. To meet the souls who dared to think differently. The forgotten women of science. Hey everyone. I'm Muskan Barber, and you're watching FactZone, the channel where we explore the untold stories, lost legends, and hidden truths behind our world's greatest achievements. If you love discovering real stories that changed history, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and join the journey of knowledge and inspiration. Hypatia of Alexandria. In the ancient city of Alexandria, when the world was ruled by empires and gods, there lived a woman whose mind shone brighter than any temple flame. Her name was Hypatia. Born in the 4th century, she was the daughter of Theon, a philosopher and mathematician. From childhood she walked through marble halls filled with scrolls and equations. While men argued about faith, she searched for knowledge. She taught astronomy, mathematics, and philosophy to students from all over the known world. They called her the philosopher of light. At a time when women were expected to stay silent, she stood before great audiences and spoke of numbers, stars, and reason. Her voice was calm, her logic sharp as a blade. She taught that truth is not owned by religion or rulers, but discovered by those who dare to question. But Alexandria was changing. Fear was rising. The age of reason was giving way to the age of faith. And those who thought differently were branded as enemies. Hypatia refused to stop teaching. She continued to study the heavens, to chart the movements of planets, and to guide her students in pursuit of wisdom. But mobs filled the streets, hungry for power and blinded by hate. They accused her of sorcery and blasphemy. One morning, as she rode through the city, her chariot was stopped. The crowd dragged her into a church and ended her life with brutality. Her body was destroyed, but her ideas could not be burned. Centuries later, her name still echoes through the halls of learning. Hypatia became the first known female mathematician, philosopher, and astronomer in recorded history. She paid the price for thinking freely. She became a symbol of what it costs to be wise in a world afraid of wisdom. Ada Lovelace. In a world where machines had no mind and numbers ruled only paper, one woman saw the future before anyone else could even imagine it. Her name was Ada Lovelace. Born in 1815 in London, she was the daughter of the famous poet Lord Byron, yet her world was not filled with verses and romance, it was filled with equations and dreams of logic. Her mother wanted her to stay away from imagination, but Ada's imagination became her greatest